When I was in high school, I remember US history being one of the more painful classes because it was one of the only classes where it was just about memorizing. Despite all of the quizzes I studied for, the hours I spent writing essays, giving presentations in front of the class, I cannot remember anything. Literally nothing has stuck in my head. How is that possible? So much time invested in trying to remember something, and my brain just can't do it. And at the same time, I know every single date, every battle, and every word to every song. And Hamilton, the greatest city in the world, 1776. Eliza. Alexander Burr, sir. Something, something, something. Hamilton. The difference between high school history and the Broadway spectacular Hamilton, it's literally just a good story. Today we're going to talk about the effect storytelling has on our brain and why it is such a great marketing tool for your business. Storytelling is built into how we think, so much so that our brains respond to, remember, and recall stories better than any other form of sharing information, like in just a list or a PowerPoint or just sharing data. Anything that lacks a narrative structure, storytelling is going to be a better format to share information that you actually want people to remember and use. Now, the real question here is why? Why is that true? And I'm about to tell you. So, take a seat, because I don't want you to pass out by how shocked you are by this information. Basically, when we read a great story, the reason we think it's great is because our brain is releasing a ton of neurochemicals, like a dance of neurochemicals going on as we read a story that's slowly rewarding us, that's hooking our attention, and that's making us want to engage with the story further. You know what it's like? Imagine doing a drug and you don't feel anything from the drug. So you might say that's not a good drug. It's not working. I wanted to have an effect. So same thing with a story. It's not that the story is great on its own. It's that the story is making things happen in our brain that we are like loving. We're getting, we're feeling the emotion of being super engaged in the story. It's all happening unconsciously, but we're like, damn, this is a great story. I want to know what happens next. I love these characters. I'm so invested in what's happening. Those feelings, those are all just neurochemical things going on in our brain. But what's cool is if you understand what's happening and why it's happening, you can be more effective in your storytelling and you can evoke the type of emotional response you want your readers to have, you want your audience to have, and ideally you want potential customers to have. Today, we're going to talk about your brain on stories, and it's about to get crazy up in here. Okay, so part one, we're going to hook them with cortisol. Question for you. Are you anything like me? Have you ever gotten an email in your inbox and based on the subject line, you immediately archived it or deleted it or moved it to spam? Me too. What about on Instagram? Have you ever seen an ad that you saw and you're like, this is annoying, and you scrolled right past it? You didn't give it the time of day? Well, I'm not a doctor, but I'm going to go ahead and say you did that because your cortisol wasn't spiked at all. When we spike cortisol, we get people hooked. That's why people are always like, you need a good hook. The above the fold copy has to hook them. Yes, it has to hook them, but the ultimate goal is that we spike their cortisol, we make them see it, and they get this feeling of, oh shit, this is important. This is for me. This is about me. I need to learn more. What if you saw, the intro to an email that said something like, 10 years ago, I sat next to a woman on a plane. She told me this one secret and it's made my business $10,000 extra a month, every month since applying what she taught me. To me, I'd be like, what the hell did she teach you? I'd be so curious. I honestly would probably stop what I'm doing and click in because it would have opened a loop in my brain, It would have said, hey, this is important. This could help you. What does she know that you don't know? Our whole goal with spiking cortisol is to get someone to stop what they're doing and give you their full attention for a second. Because it doesn't matter how good your ad or your story or your video is. If they don't click, they'll never see it. And then we'll never get to the next step. Any feeling where you're getting sucked out of what you're doing and all of your attention suddenly goes to something else and you have that urge to know more, that's spiking cortisol. That's what a good hook does. It's important to note that a cortisol spike should not be scary. It doesn't need to be like something that terrorizes people. In fact, I encourage against it. You could also lead with a problem that your audience is having because they're going to stop and see that and be like, oh shit, I have that problem. So for example, you could say, the way my client was ending her sales calls was ruining her ability to close. This fixed it in 10 minutes. if you're having a hard time closing people on sales calls, that would pull you, it would yank you into the email, because you'd be so curious. You'd say, hey, that could actually really help me. That's important to me. Cortisol is our friend. We want to be thinking, when we think of like, what is a good hook? Think of something that's going to stop them in their tracks, have them identify and want to learn more. One easy way to do that is to focus on a pain, a frustration, a concern that your audience is dealing with, and they might give you the time of day to find some kind of resolution to that pain, problem, concern. Okay, very good. Part 2, we gotta captivate the audience with dopamine. Spiking cortisol is just the first step because it brings you in. But once we have you, we need to get you engaged. We need to keep your attention here and have you be interested in anticipating what happens next. So 3 years ago, my hands stopped working. I woke up one morning and I could not use my right hand without pain shooting down my hand, wrist, and elbow. It was bizarre. A couple weeks later, it happened to my left hand. So now I have no hands. I went to a hand specialist to see if he could figure out what was going on. We did blood tests, we did x-rays, we did an MRI. Nothing wrong. The doctor had no idea what was going on. No one could tell me why seemingly overnight I became a severely arthritic elderly woman. And then all of a sudden it hit me. I knew what was happening. It was like in a moment I realized the reason this was happening to my hands was because ... Now, if I don't tell you the rest of that sentence, if I don't tell you why, the ultimate reason why my hands stopped working, would that feel annoying? Well, if it did, guess what? Congratulations, your dopamine is working. It means your dopamine production is working well, as it should. You were anticipating what happened next in the story. You were interested, you were engaged, hopefully. If you hated the story, I don't know what to tell you. It's a true story. In order to keep you engaged long enough to captivate your full attention, we need that brain of yours to be making that sweet, sweet dopamine. Now, dopamine gets released every time something rewarding happens. So if the story is resolving tension or solving a problem or revealing a character's fears or dreams or deepest desires, all of that is creating dopamine, which in turn makes us anticipate what's going to happen next. And we feel a little reward every time we get more information. So we're getting more and more engaged in this narrative and paying less and less attention to the world around us. This is why we binge watch TV. This is how it happens, The whole episode can kind of suck. And then the last 30 seconds, they do some insane cliffhanger and it's like, well, now we have to watch the next episode. So dopamine is a reward chemical. It's also the chemical of anticipation. Dopamine is also related to memory. Obviously, I'm not going to sing again because I killed it the first time. And I think Disney owns that and I don't want them coming after me for copyright, But then again, Eliza. I won't sing. The reason that I can't remember high school history, but I can remember the lyrics to the same information, the spiking of dopamine, just helps us recall things better. Okay, so now that we have hooked you with cortisol and we've captivated you with dopamine, now we've got to build connection and trust and bonding. And we're going to do that with oxytocin. Okay, section 3, influencing thoughts, feelings, and connection with oxytocin. Have you ever watched a TV show where the bad guy, the evil person that everyone hates, they get their own episode and suddenly we're understanding why they suck so much. We're understanding why they're such an asshole all the time. We're seeing kind of like the origin story of how this character developed and we're seeing it through their own point of view. And suddenly we don't hate them anymore. We feel bad for them. We feel empathy. We kind of a little bit are rooting for them in a way that we absolutely were not before. I used to really hate Snape. I thought he was really a bit of a downer, a little negative, And it's like, wait a minute. He had a love and Harry's dad took her away. And now he has to deal with the child of the person he once really loved. No wonder he doesn't like him. I think I speak for all of us when I say that the Harry Potter movies are way better than the books. And so if you disagree, like and subscribe. But if you agree, like and subscribe. When we are flooded with oxytocin, that's when we feel closest to people. Telling stories that evoke oxytocin is so important because when you trust someone and you feel connected and close to them, that's when they can influence you. You're chemically enhancing your audience's ability to trust you connect with you and bond with you. And not just you, but your brand, your company, and the thing that you're ultimately offering. You know, you're influencing their beliefs, their levels of trust, and their likelihood of believing that if this worked for the person in your story, this could work for them. And that's huge. That's like the big hurdle. The reason we don't buy things more often than not, it's because on some level we don't believe it'll work for me. We don't believe it, it's going to fix this. We don't believe it's different than the other thing we bought. Stories can shift those beliefs without explicitly saying, hey, I'm not like the other thing you bought. Instead, it's like, hey, let me tell you the story of someone just like you. You're going to really like them, and then you're going to see. It's kind of like the ultimate show, don't tell. Don't tell me this is better than everything else. Show me, and let me feel it through what you show me. So the big question is, how do you actually evoke oxytocin? What do you need in a story to pull that out of your reader? It's honestly pretty simple. You need a personal, dramatic, emotional arc that the character goes through that we can follow along with. There has to be a vulnerable thing so that we can relate to and empathize with their struggle, either an internal struggle or an external struggle. Hashtag Brene Brown. The trick to thinking about this is, when you have a heart-to-heart with someone and you're kind of like, ooh, I like you more than I liked you before. I see you now. I understand you better. I feel closer to you. Those are the same stories that are going to release oxytocin. They're going to enhance feelings of closeness, of trust, of generosity. When you tell a story that releases oxytocin, suddenly you're not selling because the reader becomes an active participant in what you're offering. They're eager to sign up. They want more. They want this because they can feel it's going to help them. If you really believe in what you're selling and you really believe this is going to help someone to make their life better, we want to do everything we can to get their own limiting beliefs, the things that are like stopping them and holding them back, out of the way. A story that grabs their attention, hooks them with the cortisol, that captivates them with the dopamine so they keep reading, and that gets them to the point where they have a flood of oxytocin for the person that your story is focused on and their experience. That's what's going to slowly move the needle. That's what's going to get them excited. You don't have to sell at that point. They're sold. They want it because they go, if this really helped this person who I feel connected to, and this helped this person I feel connected to, that's an easy decision. We want to do everything we can to make your offer or solution, the service you provide or the product you sell, we want that to feel like an easy decision, not like I don't know, I guess I'll do it and see. We want it to be like a hell yes, I want that thing. And one way, those are just two different emotions, and one is very apprehensive and one is eager. And usually the difference between apprehensive and eager are a whole lot of thoughts and beliefs in our head saying, this isn't for me. I don't know if this will work. I'm scared. What if it doesn't? What if? And stories are one way to illustrate, this is for you. This will work. This is how I think. These are my experiences. This is my point of view. Does this speak to you? Does this connect with you? Do you trust this? If so, let's do it. And then selling becomes obsolete. It's just sharing at the end of the day and moving them emotionally. I think that's pretty cool. Whether you are someone who sends out weekly emails, you create video content, you speak on stages, you have a webinar to give, or maybe you're just paying for ads. It doesn't matter. Stories are a great way to stand out, to build trust, and to inspire action. So now that we've talked about how storytelling works on the brain, the only thing left to do is to learn how to tell a great story and learn how to do it consistently and easily and to have fun. So if you want to learn that, click on the next video and I'm going to walk you through how to do it in real time with me, your friend Nadia. Thank you so much and have a great day. And there's one other thing. Misha, come! This is my personal assistant, Misha. No, you have to stay. Misha, do you want to say anything? She said like and subscribe. You gotta get up. You have to get with us. Okay. Is there anything you want to say to the audience? Oh! Okay. This is Misha, and she's my personal assistant, and she's not very good. It's important that we can be honest with each other and give each other feedback. She misses a lot. You're supposed to say like and subscribe. She has one job, Mish. It's embarrassing when I say it. Is there anything you want to say to the viewers at home? Just say it right here. Support me for once. I always support you. You never believe in me. You never believed this channel was going to be huge. And so I'm going to throw it over to Misha. Mish, you've never believed in me. I'm doing this whole YouTube thing in spite of you. Whatever, leave. Just leave. I don't care. I don't need you. Like and subscribe in spite of my dog.